latest episode of Cyber Spotlight. And today I have with me Michael Lowy of Tide Foundation. Michael, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about Tide Foundation?
Sure, thanks for having me. Tide is a deep tech venture developing a new breed of trust technologies to solve probably one of the biggest threats on the planet today, which is data breaches. Data breaches have reached a fever pitch that is unprecedented. In the last year alone, we've seen more breaches than the previous 15 years combined, and that's despite the record expenditure on cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's a problem with both of those graphs going up. Mm-hmm. So when the most well-resourced organizations in the world aren't able to stem these breaches or contain the damage, something's not right. So we're developing technology that creates an entirely new paradigm where when the breach comes, there's nothing valuable to find.
Mm-hmm. Wow, okay, that's awesome. So when they breach, they can't find anything, and so therefore they don't attempt to go further.
Yeah, well, the attacks will continue to come. Mm-hmm. We wanted to remove the most damaging attack vectors, the ones which where a breach means a mass data breach.
Yep.
Those are obviously the most damaging to an organization. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, when organizations today are almost like banks of people's sensitive information or people's sensitive digital assets, that damage eventually flows down to individual consumers or citizens.
Yeah, and look, I think ultimately, and this is something that we saw from the AustCyber Digital Trust Report, is that it hurts trust. And if we can't establish trust, and if we can't continue along that road of trusting technology, trusting, data collection, how can we potentially move on to automation? So it is really important what you're doing. Let's take a step back and talk about your startup story. How did you guys come about?
So actually the concept for Tide was born out of a previous venture with the same founders. We created an IoT marketing and data analytics platform, powering things like pharmacy loyalty programs, marketing campaigns for Kellogg's. And before we could win those enterprise clients, because we were a startup holding extremely sensitive information from connected health devices, smart homes, probably some of the most sensitive information you can conceive of, we needed to find a way to demonstrate that without needing to trust us, there's no way that the Kellogg's brand, for example, would end up on front page news if we were to be breached. So that was where the concept of Tide was born, and we looked at how do we create a cybersecurity solution where we're removing the need for trust, and that's where the concept for Tide was born.
Awesome. And then how did you go about getting the team together and building it, and how are you going with that now?
So my background is building digital products. I had a digital agency, merged with another agency, became a full service agency, and then finally came out to play to build my own products.
So what you're saying is that you are a proper digital nerd?
Yeah, born and bred.
Perfect. All right. So you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm probably the least nerdy on the team. One of my other co-founders was actually a former client. So we'd worked together for years as a service provider and client, and became friends after that. Yuval, another co-founder that came in to join the party, is a former cyber intelligence captain in the Israeli Defense Corps.
Awesome.
And also one of the pioneers of VoIP technology, which everyone's using on a daily basis to communicate today. And finally Dom, who together with Yuval built the first satellite-based telco in Australia.
Amazing. So you've got a pretty hectic team there. How many are you in numbers, and where are you?
So we're a team of 6, and we were in deep R&D mode for 2.5, 3 years. developing this technology. Last year was the first year that we turned our attention from pure R&D to begin that commercialization journey.
Yep.
And that culminated in a co-innovation partnership with NTT Global to effectively put Tide inside of the ecosystems that they deploy.
Fantastic. So I guess you can't tell me names of customers, but you've told me one partner that you work with. Are there other partners that you work with or customers that you deliver for at the moment?
So, restricted by names at this stage. But we work with one of the biggest reinsurers in the world who reached out to us in the probably towards the beginning of the pandemic with a proposition that effectively said, even for something like life insurance, they anticipate being able to offer a life insurance policy without someone leaving the house, without going into the hospital to do your bloods. So at the end of the day, asking an end consumer to provide extremely sensitive information, sometimes information you wouldn't even share with your partner, and you're sitting there in front of a computer screen asking them to trust you with this information when they're seeing daily data breaches in the news, getting emails from their airline saying, sorry, your information may or may not be up on the dark web. And so they need to find a solution to have this kind of inbuilt trust from the very first interaction. And also for themselves, remove the liability of being this bank, being this guardian of that information.
And so how do you go about doing that in the sense of, I'm a consumer, I sit at my computer trying to get life insurance. What do I see on my screen that tells me, you know what, it's okay to provide this information?
So today you have a technology like, let's say on your browser, the best hope you've got at the moment is a little lock inside your browser that suggests that your communication via SSL is secure. But that means that you need to double click on that certificate, make sure that the secure connection you have is actually with the other entity that you think you're communicating with. Tide changes that paradigm using trustless technologies, using decentralized technologies that remove the need to trust any kind of middleman or any certificate authority that today we're fully reliant on. So the expectation is to develop a technology where the way that someone's sensitive information is collected, protected, shared is completely verifiable. And it's not, the expectation is not that a consumer will be, your average consumer will be doing this on a daily basis, but that the technology itself can be verified, and the user experience should be no different from what they have today.
So essentially, it makes no difference to the platform for me. I can just trust that my information is going to be safe.
Yes. So Tide is a core technology, which means that we are our go-to-market tagline is Tide Inside. So we're a technology that lives inside of other people's products. So when you are a law firm using practice management software, or you're using a CRM, or you're a hospital collecting health data, we're a technology that handles access to the most sensitive information to make sure that the controls around access to that information are sacrosanct, even if a privileged employee within the organisation can potentially, in today's environment, have the keys to the kingdom. That's no longer the case with Tide.
That's excellent, because as we all know, it generally is with every single data breach that you see, it's unfortunately human beings that are at the end of that chain. It's a master password that's been released that, two-factor authentication wasn't enabled, etc. So Tide removes the need for those things. Is that correct?
So today you've got a situation where even an organisation that is following best practice, has all the right processes and procedures, let's say you're encrypting all the sensitive stuff, and you've got a key vault, someone, somewhere, or the application itself has the keys to the key vault.
That's right.
And that Achilles heel today lives inside of every system, every organization. And there are solutions where organizations say, well, okay, you're terrible at managing your own security. Give us the sensitive information. We'll handle it for you. Reach out to us, hit an API call every time you need it. And let's just hope that we are better at managing that security.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing today is with breaches like SolarWinds, the most trusted piece of software sitting inside an organization can be breached by state actors.
Yep.
And that means everyone suffers the damage. So shifting the problem elsewhere is not really solving the problem. It's just creating an even bigger target for hackers and state actors. Tide's approach says, okay, well, encrypt the sensitive stuff, but each record with a different key, and keep those keys outside of the organization. And rather than just putting it in the hands of the consumer, where you are kind of asking a lot of a typical web user to manage a cryptographic key when they can barely manage a password, where can we put this? We do all my usability testing on my dad, so. It's expecting a new technical awareness from an end consumer is not solving the problem, because you're just kind of shifting the vulnerability elsewhere. What we've developed is a technology that can hold those keys securely on a decentralized network, so that there is no central point of failure. There's no one place that you can attack to get your hands on the keys to the kingdom.
Okay, no, that's awesome. So you have to actually put the key together in order to open the vault.
And once a key is put together, let's say there's a particular attack vector that gets your hands on a key, you've exposed a single record, not an entire database. But the database itself has all the sensitive stuff encrypted, each record with a different key, and again, none of those keys sit inside of the organization. So if the organization is completely compromised. So
basically it's multi-layer encryption.
And decentralized. So this decentralized custodian that holds the key, each of the nodes holding, let's say, pieces of that key have no knowledge of the key or the process that they're performing. But as a swarm can do things like encrypt, decrypt, sign, anything that a cryptographic key can do, but without anyone in that swarm actually having access to the key or to the data.
Okay, that sounds really cool. And now you're sounding like a proper digital nerd.
Told you.
Take pride. Now, you guys are based here in Sydney, 6 staff. What is your I suppose, trajectory of growth in numbers?
So, as you know, we're solving an enormous global problem, and we're a global proposition. We are already, as I say, working with NTT through their global network. Being based in Sydney means that we have access to an incredible talent pool.
Excellent.
We're already doing R&D and collaboration with universities here. And there is a huge amount of brain power. And it's not surprising that we're seeing success stories like Atlassian and Canva building their head office here. There's a new precinct going in with 250,000 square meters of office space. It's a great place for us to find talent where other tech hubs around the world are struggling, and it's almost too expensive.
No, that's fantastic. So the cyber capability in New South Wales is fantastic, and it's really great that amazing companies like yourselves can actually tap into that capability or that skill capability and utilise it. So that's great, because we do want to keep our skills here, sovereign, local, and in New South Wales. And, you know, yes, we can send them global, but let's grow our own backyard first, yes?
I think, you know, with the type of projects that we've got coming out of New South Wales now, there's a good reason to stick around.
Fantastic. Okay, so Michael, I'm going to ask you my favourite last question, and that is that if I had a magic wand and I could make one cyber wish come true for you, what would that be?
I would say self-sovereignty, or self-sovereignty of everyone's identity, everyone's sensitive information, and even their assets. With today, the need to kind of hand over custodianship of my identity, my sensitive information, or that of my family's to big repositories that are susceptible to attack or exploitation. If you remove that component and keep your own sovereignty over your information, but allow those services to access it, then we can really leverage the value of our data in a way that doesn't lead to the catastrophic damage of breaches today.
Yeah, that's a really good one, actually. That's very innovative. Now, I am going to ask you, I know I said that was my last question, but I'm going to ask you one more question because I know it's important.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of your latest wins? Because I know you've had an awesome one recently.
So there's a few interesting things happening for us. We are we've been mentioned in a number of recent reports by the OECD.
Yep.
We were mentioned in a recommendation to the UK Parliament on new legislation to rein in the tech giants and stimulate the digital economy without exploiting consumers. We won InsurTech New York.
Yes, you did.
So
amazing! Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. So I think for us, even though we're not exclusively an insurance technology, we're core cybersecurity technology. What we mean for an industry like or the BFSI industry generally, because of the amount of sensitive data, it's great acknowledgement for the impact that we can have.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, so there you have it. Tide Foundation, Sydney-based company who won InsurTech New York. That's fantastic. Obviously creating waves right across the world, and watch this space because Tide Foundation is really going to take off. The reports that Mike referred to will be available in the comments, so you guys can click on it and have a look, including their award, a link to their award. And if you need to get in contact, get in contact with Mike, because this is how you build digital trust. This is how you build that, what was it that you said?
Self-sovereignty.
Self-sovereignty, that's it. That's a great concept. Thanks, Mike, for being here. And thank you all for joining us. As I said, the links to those reports will be in the comments and also in the description on the YouTube channel. And you can find Mike's details on the next slide. See you next time.